how do I do what we do with the house? And it's gotten even more complicated over the years. We're in our 5th year this year of the display, so we've added quite a bit. This will give you an idea of what this year's display is going to look like. But the first thing I have to do is I have to put everything in to this display. And so I will put all my props where they want to be. And if you notice, something doesn't look right here, and I'll explain that in a minute. And it used to be that everything was in 2-dimension, and that's pretty much how the display was set up, was 2-dimensional. So I lay everything out and put it where I want it and kind of get an estimate. And you see kind of barely in the background, there's a picture, and that's actually a picture of the house from the street, and that's what I used to lay it over. But this year we've changed. We've moved up in the world. And so it's a little bit easier to lay the display out, but you can see some of the different elements. And of course we have the new stuff that's in there. And then if you guys remember the wishing well, from last year that I came up with, if I go to, let's see, I can't find it at the moment. You can see that this list over here on the left hand side is pretty big. This is how much stuff a lot of this is newer stuff that's been added for this year. So there's the wishing well right there, so it selects the whole thing for me. And then I kind of lay everything out. Once I do all of that, I have to go out and put it all out in the yard where it's supposed to be, hope that I get it in the right spot, and then I come back in here, and I've got, this year we've got 2 master controllers. We only have 1 master controller last year. These master controllers send all the data out to the little remote receiver stations that are throughout the props that help propagate the data to all of the lights to tell it what to do. And so if I open this one, the K32s from last year, you can see where I've got different stuff dropped in here, and once you plug it in, you decide what port. You have to manually do all this. This doesn't figure it out on its own. So I've got my porch here, and the mesmerizer from last year is there, and then you'll see like some of the custom, this is that custom wishing well in the front yard, all the poly lines, poly, all the different stuff that's in here, kind of give you an idea. So you have to kind of drag it over, drop it, and set it up. And once you do that, you can upload that to the controller. So you upload the output configuration, and it kind of sorts some of the rest of it out. You hope. There's times where I do have to go back and fix some of that. So once that's all done, I figured out how this is supposed to be laid out, and then, I don't have to set up the props next, but I usually do. Then I have to create the song, the sequence. Some of them are purchased. We still are creating our own sequences still this year. Not all of them are. They're not pre-programmed, but they're kind of pre-programmed, where we'll take and purchase from a vendor a specific song sequence, and then it never fits perfect because nobody has the exact same display. So I have to spend at least 2-3 hours in here, and I'll have to edit it. But in this case, for this particular one, this is what is Lindsay Sterling's Crystallize, which we've been doing for the last couple years. And so this is one of the sequences I've made myself. And it can take between 12 to upwards of 15 hours sometimes to create a sequence, depending on how far in depth you want to go with it. If we're making them from scratch. If we're getting kind of a package from somebody that's given us a layout that we can kind of use, it may take 2 to 4 hours. But this one is from scratch, so I've put a lot of time into it. So we'll import the song, we'll put it right up here, and then we go in and we do the different effects. We put them in as we see fit, and you can see this is specifically for the Grand Illusion, and you can see the effect here, what that's supposed to do for each one. And then I actually have a whole house display that's down here. If I drag it up, and you can kind of see, well, that's what it's supposed to do. We've kind of changed something this year. We've gone from 2D to 3-dimensional, which is really nice because now I can really take a better look. See, I wasn't able to do all of this last year. And this gives me better depth perception. I can kind of scroll around. I can look through it. I can pan off to the side, see where things are going to be. And don't plan on the tune in sign being there. We're not sure if that's where it's going just yet. So some of this isn't totally finalized. And the tune in sign actually runs its own controller, completely separate from the rest of the display. That just makes things a little bit easier, and I don't have to continually adjust that because we can change the frequency on the transmitter every now and then. But this kind of gives you an idea what it looks like. And then once we get this all done, now I can't do, because it takes so much processing power for some of this, I can try and bring this up here and I can try to show you this display, but you already see the wheels spinning, and it's going to be, because it's a lot of processing going on and I'm trying to shoot a video at the same time. So what I did was I actually exported that into here so you guys can kind of see what I'm looking at. I can back this up just a little bit, so this will kind of give you an idea of what I get to look at as I'm going through the sequence, and I'm looking at how the different effects are rolling, making sure everything's going the right color and that all the scene changes are proper. So this is kind of what I have to do to get everything up and going. It gives you a good idea. I'm sure it probably scares a few of you if you've been thinking about doing it. Always start small. That's how we started. When the first year we did this, it was like 3,000 lights, 3,000 pixels. It was only a few. That's equivalent to only a few of these strings that you're looking at. I think we're going to be at about 18 or 19,000 pixels, if I remember correctly, for this year. So we've made, again, another serious jump from last year. But hope this helps you guys out a little bit to understand some of what I do behind the scenes. There's a lot involved, and it's definitely fun to do. There's a couple of times that it's been a little frustrating, but overall, we're glad you guys enjoy it, and hopefully that kind of sheds a little light for behind the scenes.